It is late. I want to go to bed, but I have to feed the YouTube algorithm. We have to do it. Trying to make you money, Google. I'm trying to help you. Very smooth, very subtle. Nice. Okay. Hello, everyone. Right away, I want to thank you for coming back to my channel for another video. Today, we are talking about a video I made earlier. We're kind of revising a previous video, revising a concept that we looked at previously. But right away, I'm going to get to that age-old question that I know the YouTube algorithm is dying for me to get to, which is, why do I think this video is worth your time? I think it's worth your time because, as corny as it may sound, I want to help you achieve your goals and actualize your full potential. And I've kind of tried to tailor this video to that end. I want to help you, I want to help myself, I want everybody to be helped. So that's what this is. Okay, so previously I made a video outlining my plan to slowly work my way through the Book of Proverbs. I talked a little bit about my background with Christianity and the Bible and, you know, my profound wish to not sound too cringe while making videos based on verses in the Book of Proverbs. And I have since made a decision. So I really have no idea how to talk about the Book of Proverbs. I've combed my way through it a couple of different times now, and honestly, I feel like it's completely beyond me. But I'm still anxious to talk about the book. I want to get as much out of it as I can, and I want to communicate what I get out of it to you. So this is where I'm at right now. I like to think that I'm pretty well versed when it comes to engaging with and talking about texts or works of literature or books or poetry. I've read my fair share of, you know, the literary works that are kind of notoriously complicated, but this is, you know, maybe kind of the best way to say reading the Book of Proverbs, the Bible, is kind of uncharted territory for me. So while I was reading it, the Book of Proverbs struck me as deceptively complicated. And if you're familiar with it, you know, maybe you agree with me, or maybe you don't, or maybe you're not familiar with it. I'm really not even that familiar with it. I'll say as a side note that I'm especially interested in hearing what you guys think, which is to say that I'm interested in any and all comments, because again, I'm feeling a bit out of my wheelhouse on this one. So whatever you have to say, unless it's mean, I'm interested in hearing it. Okay, but back to what I was saying. The Book of Proverbs strikes me as deceptively complicated. I'm reading the King James Version, so the language is, yes, antiquated, which is to say old. And I say that because I don't want my point to be misinterpreted. I'm not saying the Book of Proverbs or the Bible, for that matter, is easy to read, because it isn't. It takes some getting used to. Obviously, the King James is in English, but in a way, you know, acclimating ourselves to, let's call it, the style of the text is similar to learning a different language, at least in my opinion, especially for someone who's approaching the Bible for the first time and isn't already familiar with, you know, a more antiquated form of the English language. All of this is to say, again, that I'm not suggesting it's necessarily easy to read. I don't think that at all. Like I said, it's deceptively complicated. My point is that stylistically, what's behind the accenting of the aged language is a style that is sparse, and maybe minimalistic isn't exactly the right word, but it's something like that, I think. And I'm saying all of this because I want to nail down what I mean by deceptively complicated. The style of the verse is antiquated, but once we puncture the style, what we find, I think, is verse that appears to be relatively straightforward on the surface, that is. But upon closer analysis, the verse becomes so much more complicated that it's almost insane. It is almost mind-boggling. Like, that's all I'm going to say. And I will also say this. I'm going to be doing a podcast style thing with a friend of mine, one of the wonderful editors of my YouTube videos. We're going to be talking about the Book of Proverbs. We're going to be going chapter by chapter, releasing one episode per week. So it'll be the kind of thing that's going to last for the better part of a year, and, you know, who knows what we'll move on to after that. There are 31 chapters in the Book of Proverbs, which seems pretty convenient, like 31 days in a month. I don't know, it's meaningful. I'm not saying there's a causal link, but it's cool. So anyways, if you're reading along, you can just crush one chapter a day. by the end of the month, you will have read the book. And I should also specify that they're not long chapters. They're very short. They're like 30 something verses per chapter. So that's cool too. Our reasoning for doing this though is that, I would probably end up sounding like a complete and total fool if I was trying to talk about the Book of Proverbs alone, which maybe I will do at some point in the future, but for now at least, I just don't feel confident enough to talk about it alone. Doing it with someone else means that the ideas I present aren't always going to be left to stand on their own. And I think that's important, and I think that's extremely valuable, just to have another person along for the ride, because it means that there's someone else that I can be kind of bouncing my ideas off of, and vice versa. And I think that in that way, whatever conversation emerges will end up being better than whatever it was that I would end up producing, for the simple fact that many perspectives are going to be introduced, and it's it's kind of a way of like distilling some sort of truth, or whatever is going to be talked about. I feel like it's just going to be better if it's kind of bounced between two people. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the old saying that two heads are better than one, and that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. In closing, I made an earlier video outlining that my approach was going to be working through the Book of Proverbs. I thought it would be a great way to kind of start uploading every day, spew content at the YouTube algorithm so that it spared me, so that it showed me mercy, and that it brought me views. And honestly, maybe I will end up doing that at some point, talking about it solo. But again, for right now, I just don't know enough to talk about it by myself. And I really, really, really want to do whatever I can to not sound cringe. So for that reason, I am seeking help. And I think that ultimately this is going to result in higher quality videos. That's my hope, at least. But I'm saying all this to, it's basically in response to the first video that I put out. I want to give some kind of arc, some lead in to the podcast, and this is kind of like my introduction for that. Initially, I was going to do it by myself. Now I'm doing it with another person. And my thinking is that, just having a conversation about something that I don't know is probably going to benefit me, or at least benefit the presentation of the ideas. So, in closing, I'll say thanks for bearing with me, and I hope that you find the videos to come valuable, or helpful, or useful, or interesting, something. I hope you like them. I hope I learned something. That's it. That's everything that I've got. It's very late. I want to go to bed. But before I go, I want to thank you, my wonderful viewer, for sticking with me to the very end. If you found this video interesting or useful or helpful, I know I've already used those words, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. They really help me out. It really kind of encourages me to keep doing this, and I really appreciate it. And let me know what you think in the comment section down below, because I'd love to kind of talk about some of this stuff with you. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.